If you're not exactly where you want to be in life and or business, I want to encourage you to watch this video. Let me tell you a quick story. So I am Coach Kelly J. I am an executive coach. I am a behavioral intelligence strategist. So one of the things that I do really, really well is I walk people into their next level. Okay. So I had a coaching session with a coaching group of mine that I don't normally coach in, but what caused me to have this meeting is that they were not showing up on social media the way that they need to in order to attract paid clients. Attracting paid clients is not hard to do. I mean, it's really simple actually. Like in real life, it's really, really simple. You show up giving valuable information, valuable content, and people will hunt you down and they will find you. And if you know how to do the thing that they haven't figured out how to do, and you can prove that you know how to do that, they'll pay you. It really is that simple. Sidebar. But if they're not showing up, I know it's not the not knowing how to do it. I know it's just the doing it. And so we had a candid conversation that I want to give you a sneak peek on the inside of because it was an absolute game changer for them. There is a methodology that I created that I call decoding. It's basically where you see the patterns that are operating in your life. We're just saying life and or business, but let's just go with life for right now. There's because it affects everything. There are patterns that operate in your life that get you the result or not. Every single result, good or bad, is simply a set of patterns. Okay, let's hop into it. And so I invited them into the methodology, which I'll show you what it is in a minute. It's an acronym. And decoding is basically the moment that you are made aware of the thing, the pattern, and you look at it and you say, I don't want to keep going down that path. I'm ready to decode that. So let's talk about it here. So, and I want to tell you a quick story in the end. It was so, so good. So, if you want to learn how to decode, this is what it is. So, D stands for discover. And I did not plan this video. This is totally raw, totally off the cuff. Discover. So, discover means when you recognize that there's a pattern going on in your life that that's running underneath that you did not previously recognize as a pattern, but you can now trace back and say, I have been doing that thing for a very long time. Okay. So you detect what the thing is that you have a pattern of. And then E stands for examine. You want to trace back the origin of why this is going on. What is the examine? Where did this start? How did it start? Why did this start? One lady that I brought up to the in the Zoom, her thing was not showing up on social media, hiding in the back. And she's like, I have an issue with hiding in the back. That is my discover. And I'm like, okay, well, what is your examine? Where did that come from? What is the origin of it? And she says, when you said that, I saw I am in the moment, literally. I'm in the moment of being on the school bus and some things were said and the kids were laughing at me. And she was really unpacking internally in that moment that ever since then, she just hides in the back. Y'all, decoding is a thing. So that's the E. And then C is where you clarify. That's where you get honest with what this pattern that's running in your life, what is it taking from you? Clarify what is it costing you to keep running with that pattern for that particular client. What it's costing her is she's not showing up in her business because for so long it just worked for her to hide in the back. Okay, so what is costing her is building a legacy. What is costing her is operating fully in her purpose. What is costing her is not being able to provide financially like she wants to. Maybe that's not the thing for everybody, but for her, that was the thing. So until she looks at and is willing to decode that this is happening, she'll just keep on the same pattern and running the same cycle, the same pattern, the same. And that's what decode helps you get out of. And so then the O is for observe. Observe means catch it in the moment that it happens. Observe, okay, every time that she starts hiding in the back and playing small and those types of things, she now has put herself on notice to show up and observe when that happens, name it, lean into it. And then the D, and I'm giving you guys the super short version because I don't want this video to be too long. The D is to decide. Decide on what your new response will now be. Now that you know and you understand where it came from, you discovered it, you examined it, tracing the origin, you clarified it to get honest what is causing you observe it when it shows up, and then you decide what your new response now needs to be when it shows up to do the opposite of what you would normally do. Because you know what we say about comfort zones, nothing happens there. Okay. And then the E of decode is to embody. But in order to embody something, you have to execute it on it consistently. You don't embody something that you're not executing on consistently. Now, let me tell you the real one. And I went around the room and I allowed several people to share their story of how, now that they're aware of what decoding is, I allowed them to share their story from a personal perspective or from a business perspective of what they're choosing to decode, because it's important for them and for you, which is why I'm making this super duper raw video. Here we are. And it's important to be able to see these patterns and know how to operate it without your coach being there. Okay. So this one lady came up and she says, what I would like to decode is my adoption story. I was adopted and I carry that with me all the time. Basically, it shows up in everything. With what she was saying, she didn't say it shows up in everything, but what her words were saying and her heaviness. Got to know how to read body language. Her heaviness was giving that it just really runs her life. It really runs her existence, her being, and her beingness. It will be difficult for her to ever become all that she is called to become as long as she continues to let that be her story. So while it was a very sensitive issue, I get that. We needed to unpack it. We needed to decode it. And so we did. So I got her to see that although she was adopted, she was also chosen by another family. And then it got to a deeper level because she said, but the family that I was chosen by, they have also chosen to, I can't remember the word she used. I don't think it was ostracize, but it meant something along those lines. Disconnect. I don't want to disrespect what the word was, but you guys know what I'm saying, okay? All due respect. But she doesn't have a relationship. Long story short, she doesn't have a relationship with the family that adopted her. We didn't get into the backstory because here's the thing, and I got them to see this, and I'm going to share this with you too. When you are decoding and you discover what the thing is, and you get to the E, the examine part, which is tracing the origin, it's very easy for you to fall into a dark place when you're examining and you're having to think, I've been doing this for a long time, but when, where, and how, and why did it start? I only want you to examine it for the knowledge of it, to know that it had a starting point, and to know how long you've been operating in that, to know that it is absolutely an established pattern within your being and within your life. But as you begin to decode from this moment forward, since you're watching this video, when you begin to decode, I want to encourage you to not spend too long in the examine section, because then you can go into a deep, dark place. And that's not what we're doing. We're not doing that. Okay. So when she told me about the adoption and it started getting a little, sad, I had to, snap her out of that place. We're not going there. We're decoding because we're decoding. This is what we're doing. And so she clarifies, get honest about what it's been taking from you. She admitted that it's been taking her everything. Everything basically is run through the filter of, now let's bring this over into business. For her, it runs through the filter of she gives a lot away of herself because she wants to be accepted. And now how that is playing out in her business is in not charging people her worth because she was doing so much coaching for free. Now, mind you, this is not a video about coaching. This is not a training about coaching. This is a training about decoding, a video about decoding and understanding what parts of your life need to be decoded. So she says, it shows up in my business because I want to give it away. And then people begin to think, well, she used to charge. Well, I mean, she used to not charge. It used to be free. Why is she charging now? And I said, well, now wait a minute. Did somebody, did somebody say that, or did you decide that that's what they're going to think? And she said, well, no, somebody actually said that. Here's the thing. Here's the important part, you guys. Don't miss this. Somebody said it. What if 2 people said it? What if 3 people said it? There's 8 billion people on the planet. Don't take what 1, 2, or 3, or even 5 people say and say, well, and then you overgeneralize. That's what that's called. You overgeneralize as if everyone is now saying that, and everyone is going to say that, and everyone is thinking that, and it might not even be true. It might be the opinion of 1 or 3 or 5. But then we take that and we overgeneralize and say they are going to think this, or they do think this. And because they do think this, then I'm not going to do this. And the whole thing might be built on an untruth. Let's just be honest. The whole thing might be built on an untruth. So that was kind of like a wake up call for her in realizing, and the room, because we were on Zoom and I'm looking at everybody's Zoom squares, just like, okay, where do I overgeneralize? Where are some overgeneralizations in my life? And I've just put everybody in a category when one person said a thing, or two or three people said a thing, and now it's the thing. Okay. So we got through that. And then we looked at, where are we at? We got through that. And then we looked at observing, catching it the moment that it shows up, and then deciding to choose a new response, and then embodying and execute. Here's the important part. She was so, what's the word I'm looking for, you guys? She was so absorbed. She was so very absorbed by the facts. I'm not here to minimize it. It's a fact that those things happen. She was adopted. That's a fact. She was adopted by a family that then ostracized her. That's a fact. But what also is a fact, which is one of the main things I want to encourage you to walk away with from this video, is that every single situation in life now and forevermore has a minimum of 2 sides to it. What do you mean by that, Coach Kelly? I mean, a coin has a heads and a tails. That's 2 sides to it. This piece of paper has a heads and a tail, has a front and a back. This lipstick has 4 sides to it. 6 sides if you want to go top and bottom. Okay? Everything, this candle has more than one side to it. It has a front and a back and a sides. My point being that every single thing on the planet has more than one way to look at it. So while she was in victim mode, if you will, all due respect, while she was in victim mode in that moment that I was trying to help her to see where she could decode in her life and her business, I began to get her to see that since everything has a minimum of 2 sides, she gets to choose if she wants to look at this adoption from a different angle. I said, listen, I'm not going to say her name. but you may meet her one day because of the advice that I gave her in the end, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I said, listen, I said, are you a believer? And she says, actually, I am. And I said, okay, cool. What if God chose you to be the person that leads the adopted people that are now adults and they are feeling a certain way, and it's so much so that it is affecting their progress and their success and their mind and their beingness in their adult life. What if you, out of all of them, what if you were chosen? What if you were chosen? What if you're the one? And she said, I'm actually writing a book on that right now. I said, tell me why you're writing the book. And she gave me a little bit of why she was writing the book. And when she was talking about it, the tone, the posture, everything about it was still in victim mode. I said, listen, we can't do that. You have to be, if you're going to do this, let's talk about it. If you're the one and you decided you're going to accept the call and be the one, we can't go into this with victim mode. And you know what I told her to do? I said, listen, I want you to start a YouTube channel. And I want you to start it preferably tonight, but at max in the next 24 hours. I want you to start this YouTube channel. And I could tell that she was beginning to lean in to what I was saying to her. And I wasn't asking her to say anything. I was telling her this can be the moment that you flip the coin and you look on the other side. I said, I want you to start a YouTube channel. Look up on ChatGPT. Give me step-by-step directions on how to build a YouTube channel. We're not going to let tech be a thing. And I want you to go on there and I want you to create a video just with your phone. And you press record and you say, hi, my name is such and such. And I was adopted. And I think people like me need a space for people like me and for us. And tell your adoption story. Don't worry about editing it. Don't worry about who may see it and what they may think and all of those things. If you decide that you are willing to be the leader of people who were adopted, this is how you can start. We're already in the process of decoding the pattern of the victimhood of that. All due respect. Don't take this the wrong way, okay? She was so leaning into the process. It was like watching a flower come alive in the moment. I said, you make that video and you share your story. And I said, you name that unless you have another name or you want to change it later, I won't even charge you for the name. Name it A Place for Us. Bye. And then insert her name here. Maybe you'll meet her one day. I said, and in your video, say that you want, if you were adopted or you know anybody that was, share this with them. People will begin to share that. People want authenticity. What if you're chosen to do this? And she just began to come alive and she began to smile and she began to act as if she had been watered because a watering was definitely going on. Okay. And she began to laugh and she began to become, and it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful to watch. And then I looked in the chat and one lady said, both of my parents were adopted and they would love to watch your channel. And then thing after thing, post after post after post was people saying, certain adoption things. Of course, everybody in there wasn't adopted, but they were like, "Oh my gosh, I would watch that and I'm not even adopted. I would just enjoy watching that and I would enjoy watching it too." So she's like, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it tonight." You guys, I absolutely love that I get to change lives for a living. It's such a beautiful thing. It is such a beautiful thing. If that's a calling for you, come and see me, right? I'll post a link down below to my workshop that teaches how to become an impactful and paid coach. That's what the workshop is for. Was not a promo video, but here we are. If you've watched this and you're like, I think I'm called a coach in a specific area. That is one of the things, among other things. I'm a behavioral intelligence strategist, but I'm also an executive coach. If you want to learn how to use your story to coach others through theirs, I'll post a link down below. But I just had to share that. Like I said, this was super raw. I don't even know how long it is. Let's see. How many minutes? Oh, 21 minutes. All right, you guys. Bye. I'll see you next time.